Hey, it's Bradu. This is part two of the video I started yesterday, which is kind of like my personal history as an artist. I was rolling along drawing and chatting away, and time just flew by, and all of a sudden I was like, oh man, I think I'm a little bit hesitant to go over an hour on a video. I'm not really sure why. It just seems like that's plenty of time to spend on one video. So I think when I saw that hour mark coming, I was like, oh, I gotta stop. It was weird. I mentioned the drawing on the right side of the brain, and the whole theory about that is kind of when you get into a project, whether it's art or could be just about anything, reading, it's probably the same way, where you lose track of time and you're just kind of in the zone. That's what it's talking about. That's what the right side of the brain is. It's the non-verbal side, and even though I was talking, I think I was still kind of in that zone. Um, anyway, yeah, like I looked up and I couldn't believe that I was an hour in. It just didn't seem like that at all. So I've done a little bit, did another hour or so of work on this one already, so it's a little bit further than what the last video showed. And I'm not crazy about where it stands right now, but I think the big thing is it doesn't have enough contrast yet, so I don't know, it's a little tricky. I'm going to have to fudge with the contrast a little bit because I'm sticking close to the photograph, but I'm going to have to go find areas where I can go darker than it looks like. But at the same time, that's a bit of a risk, so I don't want to jump to that. I kind of want to do the whole thing pretty close to accurate and then see where it stands and then figure out where I can make those changes, if that makes any sense. But I'm not too worried about it. I think it's going to turn out fine. I'm just not crazy about it yet. Like I don't know. There's, like I said, there's just not really too many dramatic shadows. And I want the faces, like the details of the face, to kind of really pop. But anyway, I was meandering on about my personal art history yesterday, and long pause. Wow. Trying to decide what I want to do or what I want to talk about. So I was in art school. That's where I was in my storytelling, I think. I was at Western Oregon about in my last year. Oh, I was going to mention this. I think the way it was at Western in the art department, you had to pick a focus area. So I picked painting. So it could be painting or sculpture, or painting, sculpture, printmaking, graphic design, something like that. And then I think you had to have two others that you also spent like a year on but didn't necessarily do the high level classes. So I had painting, and then I really didn't even want to pick any others. I think drawing wasn't an option because there weren't enough drawing courses, but that's why I did those independent study courses, because I was most interested in drawing. So I basically asked, well, can I do drawing as one of them? And do a couple extra courses that, I come up with like on my own with an instructor. So I would meet with an instructor every so often, show my progress and things like that. Oops, told you I don't have a steady hand. I'll have to erase that mark. So anyway, I was talking about why I don't like oil painting last night, and it reminded me I'm kind of the same way with printmaking. Printmaking is a lot like drawing, except the process is so much longer. Now, granted, you can make prints, which is nice too, but to work on a printmaking thing, it's like you first have to draw it in some way, and then you have to go through all these different processes to get it printed, whether it's screen printing or whatever. There's a bunch of different ones that I don't remember much about now. I took a couple of those courses. But I took printmaking because A, it was closest to drawing, and B, because Becca, the instructor that I talked about yesterday, was the professor, and I liked her, so that was had something to do with my decision. But yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know if it's the laziness in me or if it's more like taking a smarter route. And it's kind of why I do sketch cards as part of the reason, because, and I did that project where I did 40 smaller paintings instead of one huge painting. It's like I can get a finished piece of work so much quicker than if I'm working larger. And so it's kind of a quantity over quality thing, but it's not, because I don't think a print is better quality than a drawing just because I spent 10 times as long on it. The quality is still the same. And I kind of feel like that with, sketch cards versus artwork. I mean, a sketch card, to me, I still put time and effort into it and try and do a nice job. And I think of my sketch cards as being as complete of an art piece as a larger painting or drawing. So when I look at it like that, I'm like, why would I want to spend so much time on something else that's not necessarily any better? Hope that made some sense. Ooh, I moved, so I dinked around with my light system here. I straightened up the camera so it's a better straight-on shot. I was noticing it was looking a little warped while I was drawing. So that's good, but I also put in a new overhead light to try and eliminate some of those shadows, and I put a new bulb in here. So I do have that light, but I was like, man, that just washes it out too much. That's no good. So I'm not going to use that, but I still haven't quite figured it out. But at least I think this is an upgrade to what I had. But now I'm noticing my lamp is right there. I mean, I gotta watch how I'm drawing too. Okay. Looking at the screen, trying to draw off the screen. That doesn't work. So, I think I'm almost done with my Western Oregon talk. So I graduated from there in 2002. My major was art, my minor was psychology. I enjoyed psychology, but I didn't really have a lot of intent to follow, to do psychology as a career or anything. It was interesting to me, and there wasn't a lot of homework. um, so you go and listen to the lectures and take the tests, and that's pretty much it. And I was like, I can do that. Because I really wanted to focus on art. I didn't want to do boring, time-consuming classes. I feel like I did learn a lot in psychology. I've always been interested in reading and understanding people, things like that. So when I graduated from there, I think because I had finished up with that art project of 40 paintings, 40 portraits, I think I jumped right into sticking with art pretty good right after I graduated. So what happened, this is kind of a new chapter in my art history. What happened when I was doing that, those 40 paintings, and I did some MMA fighters, and I put them up online, and the mixed martial arts online community was really appreciative of my artwork. There weren't a lot of people doing it. I want to say there was just maybe one or two other people doing any MMA artwork at all. And one of them was a comic guy, Dr. Boudreaux. I don't remember if he was doing his before me or not. I think probably not. I don't want it to sound like I'm taking credit for something that I didn't do or whatever, but really feel like I was the only one doing MMA artwork back then and posting it up for people to see. So I post up, so I'll give a little shout out to the forums here. I've been going to MMA.tv, otherwise known as the Underground, since the late 90s. And I've been posting my artwork there since 2001. And also Sherdog.com. Though I wasn't as active in their forum community, I still posted a lot of artwork there over the years. So I got to give a shout out to those two sites, and there are a few others, but those were the main ones. And what happened is I posted that Randy Couture painting, and I got like 100 comments or whatever. I wonder if I could. No, it's too far back. I got probably 100 comments, and people were just really interested in it. And they were like, "Oh, you should paint so and so next," and "How about this?" and "Oh, I want you to paint my boyfriend or girlfriend or dog." And I got business through that. I immediately started doing all this portrait work, whether it was MMA related or not. And so I really kind of jumped into this art career, sort of, almost by accident. And it took off, and I just rolled with it. So I kept doing these paintings I was doing and drawings. I would experiment a lot still because I was fresh out of that, phase where I had done all those experiments. So I was doing some melted crayons and some fingerprint paintings and some pastel drawings, and I did a stage where I was doing ballpoint pen drawings. I didn't want to do pencil. I've just never been crazy about pencil. It's never been my strong suit, and I was really trying to find something different, a niche or whatever, a niche or a style that was mine and not everybody else's. I'm not the first person to do ballpoint pen drawings. There was a lot of that out there. But still, it was like people would see it and go, "Oh, I've never seen anything like that." So that was kind of part of the reason I went with ballpoint pen. It was different than pencil. You could still do really intricate drawings, and people are like, "Oh, this is just like a Bic pen from this grocery store." Yep. And let's see. It really took off. I wasn't making huge money, but I was making a lot of art, and I was making sales sometimes directly to the fighters, sometimes to like a manager or a family member of a fighter. And so that was just really neat. It gave me a way to be in contact with fighters more and with the sport and its fans, and made a couple trips to Vegas to go watch UFCs and met a bunch of fighters and showed off some of my artwork and got autographs. I wish I had my book with me. I don't have it. That has a bunch of autographs from the fighters, autograph prints that I've got. That was pretty neat. And like I was talking about yesterday, Team Quest was more or less in my neighborhood. And I actually started going there and training to try and get in shape, but mostly to have that excuse to have a connection with some of the fighters. So like Chris Lieben was teaching the jiu-jitsu and combat, what did they call it? Submission wrestling is what it was called. Submission wrestling courses. So I was going. I just did it for like a couple months. I ended up getting a staph infection, and I had to stay off the mats for a couple months, and I just never got back into it. So that kind of sucked. Boy, I'm a lefty. I'm trying to avoid the lamp and still be able to draw. It's not working very well. But anyway, I worked out several deals with Team Quest fighters where I did 3 or 4 paintings to be hung up in their gym. And in turn, those fighters each signed like 25 or 50 prints for me. So Randy Couture did it, Matt Linland, Dan Henderson, Chris Lieben. And I'd go in and watch them train and take photos there. And whenever I could, I would use those photos that I took as my references for the drawings. It's always better to use your own reference if you can. Sometimes it's not possible, but I tried. It was just a really cool time for me and a really cool experience. It was like, to me, these were celebrities, even though the sport wasn't big yet. It would be like if I was a big baseball fan getting to meet and talk to Wade Boggs and Don Mattingly and all these awesome baseball players, That was the thrill I was getting out of it. Like I met Joe Rogan. This was one of my favorite stories. One of the trips to Vegas. I was walking around with my artwork cards and prints and stuff, and anytime I saw somebody who was a fighter or a celebrity in the sport in some way, and Joe Rogan does the announcing for UFC. He still does, and he did it back then too. Commentating, color commentating or whatever. And I saw him at, I think it was at a different fight show, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, Joe Rogan? Let me show you my artwork. My name's Brad. I'm Bradu." And he goes, or no, I was like, "Here, let me show you my artwork. My name's Brad." And he's like, "Oh, you're Bradu. Yeah, I know you." I was like, "Holy shit." That was cool. So it was kind of like that. It had that cool feel to it. Like I was, in tight with some celebrities in a way. So I rolled with that for 2001 to about 2005. I was doing that. And I showed, talked a little bit about my cards yesterday, but that's a huge part of it. So from that very first Randy Couture painting, I had artwork trading cards in mind. In fact, before that, 2002 probably, I did a business card set, like actually, business card size, those little perforated ones you can print up on your own printer. And I put a different image. I probably picked 30 or whatever I had at that time. I had 30 of my MMA paintings. And I printed up the set of business card trading cards. I don't remember how many sets I did, but then anytime somebody bought something from me, I'd throw a couple of those in. Had all my business info on the back and a painting on the front, or drawing. And that was neat, but it was like, what I really want is a trading card set, not business cards, trading cards. And so a couple of years later, in 2004 probably is when I did it, I finally printed up my own business card, trading card artwork set. And it was just like a dream of mine. I have my own trading card set. And so that's what I was taking to Vegas to get signed by the fighters. And I got a number of fighters that were willing to sign just like 10 cards for me, and then I'd give them 10. I printed up 50 of those sets, and the set was 45 cards. So really I only had about 30 sets, because if I gave a fighter 10 of a card and he signed 10, then that only left so many complete sets left. But what I would do with those autographs is I made these little random trading card packs. I just shuffled them up, and I shuffled the autographs right in with it. So anytime somebody bought something from me, some artwork, they would get a pack of cards, and it would be 5 cards, and 1 out of 5 packs also included an autograph from usually a Team Quest member, but there were some other cool ones like Boss Rutan. I would catch guys who came to train at Team Quest for a week or whatever, and talk to them, and either get them to sign autographs if I had something for them to sign or whatever. It was just really neat. I met a lot of fighters like that. But this also enter a dark time for my artwork, in a way, and that is this. I got so into this whole process that every time I posted a new piece of art, I was getting so much love from it and feedback, and people were starting to notice me, that I became obsessed with just getting out as much artwork as I could, as fast as I could. And my quality went way downhill during that time. And I didn't notice it until way later because I just was like, I don't know, I got lost in that whole thing. I don't know how else to explain it. But for instance would be, I tried out watercolors and I was like, okay, I'm going to try a couple watercolor paintings, right? And so I'd do this watercolor painting, and as soon as I could, of a fighter, as soon as I could, I'd, photo it up and get it up on my website and post, here's my newest painting. And still most people are like, oh, that's awesome. I love Tim Sylvia, UFC heavyweight champ or whatever. And I was like, cool. And then it's like, but that painting sucked, like it wasn't even remotely good, but I was so just trying to get things out there that it's like I wasn't even looking at what I was doing or something. I was just in such a rush. And I realized sometime later that I had hurt my integrity as an artist during that time because I was so caught up in that rush of getting stuff out as soon as I can and pumping out as much artwork as I can. And even if I wasn't crazy about something, I would just post it up, put a couple hours into it, I get it up online. And that I learned from that period. When I'm doing my art now, I'm not going to say every piece is as good as every other piece, but if I have a piece that I don't like, that's bad or whatever, it doesn't really happen to me much anymore because I don't let it. But I'm not going to post that up and try and get feedback or whatever, Like I think what I'm saying is I hope that from that experience I learned that I want my artwork to have integrity. And maybe it's not good to show every single experiment that I do. So, and also during that time, and this is partly because I got really popular on those forums and stuff, but I got trolls. I got a group of followers hating on my artwork. And it was a mixed bag, I think, of people going, oh, this guy's talented and I'm jealous, so I'm going to try and rip on his artwork. And just, you know what a troll is, right? Just being an internet troll in general. But there also, I think, was when I started pumping out so much artwork so fast without looking at it, I think there was a downgrade in my quality at one point. And so then I think those guys kind of ran with that. Like, everybody's always praising this guy for his artwork, and look at this crappy thing he just did. So it was weird. I kind of enjoyed it just because I was still getting so much attention. And it's like, if some guy is going on like I went onto this forum that was just a troll forum. That's all it was. It was an offshoot of the underground. It was just people who went to the underground and made fun of people, and then they started up their own forum to make fun of them. And I found out about this. I don't know how or why. And I was like, I'm going to go there and post. I don't know if I was going to mess with them back or defend myself or what. But I go to sign up on this forum, and somebody's already got my screen name. And I was like, wait a minute, there's somebody impostering me? And I start looking it up, and there's all these fake artworks that I didn't do by somebody else called Bradu. So at that point, I adopted another one of my online nicknames. So sometimes if you find me on a forum, I'm usually Bradu or Brad Utterstrom. Sometimes I'm the real Bradu, because if Bradu is already taken, then I'll go with the real Bradu. Anyway, and there was a Chadu on there who was faking like he was impostering me too. So it's kind of flattering in a way. It's like, these guys are really taking the time out to try and make fun of me. I'm doing something to get attention. But like I said, it was a mixed bag of good work and bad work. I mean, I did have some nice work back then. I've got some of the drawings and paintings I did are in the artwork set that I have today, because I never, because I think they still hold up. But there's also a number of them that I took off my website at some point and was like, wow, I don't really want this out there with my name attached to it, because I was in an experimental phase and I just didn't treat it as such. I treated it as if I was a professional artist. Anyway, a couple funny stories from those troll days, from the trolls. One of my favorites was Bradu is gay. There was this big thread on it. Finally, we have proof Bradu is gay, and there was a picture of me and my brother. Just posing for a picture, like, hey, we weren't doing anything gay, we were just in a picture together. It's like, what? That's proof of what? And I don't have anything against gays, but I'm also not gay. And the fact that I have a brother is not quite proof of anything. But that's one example. And another one was, what was the other one I was going to tell? Oh, yeah. This actually was one of my more flattering moments as an artist. They would call me a tracer, right? And you guys are watching me draw, so you know I'm not tracing anything. Brad, who's a tracer, and we finally have proof. And some dude had taken one of my drawings, Hickson Gracie of the ballpoint pen. I'll bust it out here since I got my cards. And he took the photo, the reference photo I used, and he opened it up in Photoshop, and he overlaid them, and it matched up almost perfectly. And he's like, see, here's proof that he traced. And I knew that I didn't trace it, so I was like, hey, wow, that's pretty cool. It does almost match up perfectly. There's Hickson right there. So that one. And it wasn't totally perfect. I do remember the hand is smaller here than it was on the photo. But, it was relatively accurate. And this has kind of a photographic feel, too, on that particular one. I talked a little bit about watercolor. This is the one watercolor that I still kind of like. And now even when I look at it, I don't love it. It's a lot worse than I used to think it was. But I still like the colors and there's something I like about the style of watercolor that I'll try it again at some point. So I went for several years, being 3 or 4, drawing almost exclusively MMA artwork, having a ton of fun with it, and then it just sort of dropped off. It was a number of things that happened at once that caused me to put it away, but the most important being probably that I got a job. I got a full-time job, so I was just doing artwork at that point. And all of a sudden my friends are like, hey, this school is hiring and we work there and you should come work there. And one of my friends' mom was the principal, so I had a leg up on the competition. And I went and got this job, and that's the job I still have today, more or less. None of them are there anymore, but I'm still there 10 years later. So I got this job, and so I really didn't need to be making money with art. And I think I was at a point where I was frustrated, and I needed a little break, and I just walked away completely and didn't do a single drawing or painting. Not a single, I probably sketched a couple times. But I did virtually no art for between 2005 and 2009. It was pretty weird because I went from it being my life to just completely dropping it. And that's kind of how I am with a lot of things. I have an addictive personality, and I go full bore into some hobby or interest. And then I take a break, and when I take a break from it, it's like completely, I just drop it completely. And then I might come back to it years later, full force again. Collecting different things is like that for me too. So anyway, I walked away from art. And another part of that, it was starting to get a little complicated as the sport of MMA grew in popularity and The Ultimate Fighter was airing. And it just got like, I got a threatening call from the UFC at one point. Some attorney or something was like, we see that you're drawing UFC fighters or painting UFC fighters, and you can't do that. You owe us, I think it was, he was saying, you owe us money for each UFC fighter you've drawn. I don't know if he was saying they're going to sue me or what, but it was a semi-threatening phone call. I was like, dude, I'm just like this guy drawing what I like, and I'm not making a killing, but I was selling some things. And he was like, well, I'm going to look into it more, and I'll get back to you when I know exactly what we're going to do or whatever. I was like, all right. So that was scary for me. And he calls back a couple days later and goes, well, I looked into it, and Dana White, who's the president of the UFC, if you don't know that already, Dana said just let him do whatever he wants. It's cool. So I guess I had the green light to go for it. But I think it just sort of spooked me. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to draw UFC stuff anymore or what. So when I got that job, it just changed a lot really fast, and I just kind of walked away from doing the artwork thing. And another thing too is that I had this niche market cornered for a couple of years there. There was a couple other people doing MMA artwork as time wore on, but not many. It was mostly me. This other guy came along who, Evan Showman, Showman Art, he does these basically photorealistic pencil drawings. They're amazing. So he was kind of showing me up too. It's like, people are like, wow, Bradou's got some competition now. And our art was a lot different, so that was the good thing. But he's friggin' good. Like, I'm not going to deny that for a second. So I'm not saying I left because of competition, because that's not it either. But I didn't have the niche market cornered anymore either, So just a bunch of things that all rolled into one, and I walked away. And it wasn't even a conscious decision. I wasn't just like, I'm going to stop doing art altogether. I just did. I didn't really think about it. I was going to work instead of drawing. And then about 2009, I don't know what triggered it or why, but I started drawing again a little bit. Mostly pastel stuff. Mostly fighters still. And let's see. And the other thing that happened then, 2009, is I'd go to the art store and I saw these little artist trading card things, which were cards cut to trading card size that were blank and you could draw on or paint on or whatever. I was like, huh, this must be a real thing. Like, people are drawing and painting on trading cards. Why the hell didn't I think of that? And I did, actually. I painted 2 of them several years earlier when I was in the thick of my MMA experimenting drawing phase. But it was hard, that's a small surface, and I wasn't crazy with how the first 1 or 2 turned out. So I didn't stick with it. And if there's one thing I could change going back, I wish I would have stuck with it then, because I did have trading cards in mind, and I started doing sketch cards, and I just didn't give it a real effort. I walked away too soon. But anyway, I picked up some of those artist trading cards, and I drew a few. They turned out all right. I did mostly pencil. I did a bunch in pastel because pastel is my favorite. I like the look of pastel, but I don't feel like I've mastered it by any stretch. And it's not good for sketch cards, unfortunately. It's not good for fine detail stuff. But I tried it anyway. I wanted to make it work. So I did do a number of them in pastel, and I was like, this is too hard. Too hard to draw this small with big pieces of chalk. So 2009, I did maybe 10 or 20 drawings. And that's the other thing. So I wasn't doing this full time by any stretch. I was still working full time. But, for a month, I might do a few drawings and like one drawing a week, 2 drawings a week. I would never even have thought about doing 2 drawings in a single day, be it a sketch card or whatever. They were usually 5x7, 9x12, or sketch cards. Those are my usual sizes, I guess. Wow, it's like I need to either talk or draw, not both. My mind, it's that left brain, right brain thing. My mind keeps flipping back and forth, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm drawing. I guess it's looking better. Still needs some stronger values somewhere. I think I'm still gonna need an hour or 2, or maybe more on this, because I really want it to be good. So anyway, I didn't draw a ton. It would take me 2 or 3 hours to get a drawing done. It wasn't as experimental as I had been in the past. I kind of was finding what I liked and doing it. And what I liked during that phase, 2009, was pastel. I would usually came up with a couple that I really liked. I would usually pick 1 or 2 colors and stick with it. Not 1 or 2, but to have like a color theme. So these are some of the ones I like the best. Fedor, Diego Sanchez, that kind of stuff, pastel. These are both, I think, 5x7s. See if I can find one that's a little bit different. This is a little bit later, but the other one thing I would do is get toned paper and just do 1 color. So Jake Shields. I like this blue. I like this blue paper with the red pastel a lot. I will do that again. Anyway, I was doing pastel once a week-ish, and then take a couple months off, and then do another 1 or 2, or whatever. Didn't really get the huge following again. But I think that my timing was good because I started to get my artwork back online. So from 2009 to 2011 or 12, I was back on the forums a little bit, doing artwork here and there a little bit. And that's when I got the call from Topps UFC. They wanted me to do artwork for a UFC trading card set. And I was like, that sounds awesome. And I don't know. I've already covered most of this story and how it went, so I don't know if I want to rehash the whole thing. I'll try and get down to the good stuff. But they needed 100 original sketch cards. And I had done a few sketch cards, but I didn't know that sketch cards were this big thing in the trading card industry, that they were in actual trading card sets and things like that. And what I especially didn't know is that artists were expected to do them in huge bulk quantities very fast. So they're like, we need 100 of these in 2 months' time. And I was like, no friggin' way. And I also didn't understand that when they pay you, you get a lot of incentives that aren't the actual cash. So the actual money per card that's that was offered to me was only like, a couple bucks an hour worth of work. And I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. But at the same time, I'm going, I have to do this. I have to. This is like a dream for me to get my artwork in a trading card set. This is Topps. It's the biggest company there's ever been in trading cards. It's the UFC. It's my favorite sport. I have to find a way to do this. And what I found out is I negotiated a little bit, and it turned out to be well worth it monetarily because of, selling my artist proofs and getting product in return as well, meaning I got some boxes that I was able to open and keep and sell and trade and whatever, as opposed to just taking cash. So it all worked out well. And it just took off from there. Boy, I am just sitting here not even drawing. That's funny. And from there, Topps UFC I did, and then I got an email from Leaf, and they saw my Topps UFC cards, and they wanted me to do a Leaf hockey set. Hockey's my other favorite sport. I was like, heck yeah. Topps baseball then signed me up for some, and it just, my sketch card career sort of took off. And it is tricky. I want to make it a full-time job, but like I said, even when the offers are good, it's still not paying big bucks, and there's no benefits like, at my day job. I get medical benefits and such. So with sketch cards, you're doing it part for the pay, but more than anything to get my name out there and my work out there, and to get collectors and customers to notice me and then, commission me to do drawings that they want or sketch cards that they want. But it really works out for me. I think not a lot, but some sketch card artists are sort of disgruntled by the whole business of companies expecting you to do huge amounts of cards in short amounts of time for little amounts of pay. And some of that is true, but some of that is just misunderstandings or the artists not finding the right niche or the right way to make it work for them. Trying to do too many cards on a set, for instance, and getting burnt out. And I'm guilty of this one, but the biggest pay usually is in selling your artist proofs or artist returns. And then I get so busy with set work that I don't have time to complete the artist proofs and artist returns. So I've got a handful of them that still need to be done from past sets that now aren't going to sell for as much as if I had done them when the set was first out. I gotta try and learn from that experience, and so I'm trying to now split my time or not overcommit to set work, so that I still have time to take commissions and that I still have time to catch up on artist proofs and stuff. And it's difficult to do because I don't like turning down sets. If at all possible, I try and take every set that I think I can do well on or that I'm interested in, but I have had to turn down some sets now. I know kind of my limit, or where this is my goal now, is to not get in a position that I'm expected to do more than one sketch card a day, and on an average. So what I mean by that is, let's say a given month is 30 days. I try not to sign on for so much that I've got to do 45 cards or 60 cards by the end of that month. If I have 30 to do, I know I can do it, and I know I can still make time for other artwork stuff here and there. I would like to keep gearing that number more and more towards my own time and less official set time. But it's so much fun working on sets and getting your artwork out there. What I like about being a sketch card artist is I can go on Breakers TV Yeah, that's the website where card dealers go and open packs of cards, and people pay them to get in on a break or whatever. It'd be like, let's say they're gonna open up a case of Topps Museum Baseball, which I did sketches for. And that costs, I don't know, I'm gonna throw a random amount out there. It costs $1,000 for a case of that stuff, right? So the dealer has a case, and then 30 collectors come in and each put, X amount of money, and then they each get a team. And so the breaker, the dealer, opens up all the packs on camera live, and every time a Yankee card comes out, the guy who has the Yankees in the break gets that card, and they'll mail it to him. That's kind of how it works. It's this whole subculture of collecting with online breaks, and it's mostly sports cards, but there's some non-sports cards breaking going on too. So anyway, I can go on, and I've done this especially when the UFC sets first come out. I like to go check this out, and I'll go sit and watch and sit in this chat room and watch them open packs, and maybe one of my sketch cards will come out. And it's just really cool to see that. I've only actually seen one of my sketch cards a few times, but it's a thrill. And a lot of the people there now know me, and know, the collectors know me or have bought from me or whatever. And they'll sit there and go, oh man, let's hope we get a Bradu sketch card. And that's that's pretty cool as the artist to be seeing or hearing people talk like that. So that's the personal thrill of it for me. It's just fun. And like I said, I'm a card collector myself. As a kid, I was a huge card collector, and as an adult, I've gone through different phases. I actively collect hockey and MMA autographs, and now my newest collection is, because I'm a sketch card artist, I like collecting sketch cards. But as somebody who's trying to make money off my own artwork, it's not feasible for me to be paying other artists the prices that I charge for their art, so I have to find creative ways to get art without spending a ton of money. So my favorite thing is to try and collect sketch card prints or copies. Like the Topps Museum Baseball is a perfect example. I can get those fairly cheap because they're reprinted and then put into packs. So I've collected as many of those as I can. I'll show you a few examples. So these were all initially sketch card sized, and then they come out of packs, but they're reprints. Reproduction art card right there. And if you buy them individually, they're probably $5 to $10, but I've got on a couple times and got a lot of 20 cards for 20 or 25 bucks. So I've tried to complete these sets. Let me find one of the ones I did that I like. Justin Verlander, that one was okay. It's one of mine. So I get a lot of art from different artists by collecting this set for fairly cheap. And I just like to be able to see in front of my face, even if it's not the original, and try and figure out how the other artists are working, how they're drawing, what materials they're using, what techniques they're using. So it's fun to collect, but I also am using it as a learning experience to learn from other artists who are doing similar work. And I picked up a few originals that way too. Here's one I really like from Floyd Man Sumner, Skeletor, and this is an original. I think it's the only original I actually bought straight away, because he does his special on Sundays where he sells one card for $6, and I was like, dude, including shipping, $6, I can pay that. But generally, I only try and pick up prints or trade. I would be down for a trade. I'm working a trade right now with Stephen Birch, who just did some collector crate sketch cards like I've done, and we're going to do a trade. So I wish more artists had some prints of their sketch cards to trade me. But oh well. So I feel like that has me sort of caught up to where I am now as an artist. Talked about my MMA phase on the Underground and Dog. Talked a little bit about my haters. I'm just doing the checklist in my head to see if there's anything I missed out on. I talked about how I got into official sketch cards and why I'm still doing it. I like doing sketch cards more than anything else, but I realized that, especially like on Facebook and stuff, it's not mostly collectors of sketch cards that are seeing my work. It's mostly like my friends, like people I went to high school with or work with or whatever, and they see my art and then they go, oh, this guy's really good, but I don't want this little tiny drawing. Oh, this guy's really good. That totally sounded I hope I don't come across as being like cocky or whatever. I'm just saying, to a normal person, a lot of times they're impressed by my artwork and then they want something of a loved one or their favorite athlete, but they don't want a tiny little sketch card, they want a larger drawing. So that's where I end up getting some of my business, but I'd prefer to be doing sketch cards whenever possible. It's just, I don't know. I try to do a little bit of everything and make it work, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be one of those people who's like, only follow my own dreams, only take the artwork I want. But I think the reality is you have to balance it a little bit with the money that's coming in and the offers you're getting. So I take some that I'm not saying I don't want to do, but that I'm less thrilled with than when I get a sketch card commission anyway. And I just got to keep that in mind, to be appreciative that I have the opportunity to make art for people who are willing to pay me for it. It's a pretty cool feeling. Anyway, I'm starting to push that hour mark again. Man, I feel like I didn't have any funny stories this time. Oh boy. What I really want to do is figure out now, one of my next steps is to figure out how to do the time-lapse drawing and overlay audio so that I can do a drawing on here and then speed it up to be, a 5 or 10 minute video total, and then talk and do a little tutorial then, because it's hard to do a tutorial as I'm drawing, explaining what I'm doing. But I feel like it would be a little more reasonable to watch back my own video of me drawing and do a tutorial over that. So I'm going to try that at some point. But I am enjoying being able to do my videos here like this and getting something out of my webcam. Oh, let's see. This is probably going to be my video for the day, so I guess I should cover my 28 days later a little bit. After I put in some time on this, I'm hoping I complete it today, but if not, I'll have to switch gears at some point and get sketch cards done. So I'll get at least one done later. I did my longer video, my artcast video last night, so I already covered the sketch cards I did yesterday. A sketch card, Roberto Clemente. I don't have a whole lot more to add for that for 28 days later today, except that here I'm at least busy drawing. So that's good. But I will get at least one sketch card done, and I will also get stuff mailed out today too. And that's it. See you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed watching me draw. I might not do the rest of this on camera. We'll see. I might do a little more on camera, but I feel like my two-parter's done, and I'd have to come up with a new topic to talk about too. So, all right. Later, guys.